Monthly Fee RX, bringing us the Brian's Beat quote of the day.
If you're spending less than $20 a month for prescription drugs, great. If not, then our Monthly Fee RX service might be a good option for you. Check for yourself at monthlyfeerx.com.
See if you can tell me who made this quote. I believe in the brotherhood of all men, but I don't believe in wasting brotherhood on anyone who doesn't want to practice it with me. Brotherhood is a two-way street. Any ideas? 508-996-0500 is how you can, answer that particular question and how you can get onto the program for today. Hour number 2. We have a guest, Ross Grace Jr. He is a member of the New Bedford School Committee. We're going to be talking about the subject. If you heard me on for Barry yesterday, we spent a good hour, and we had plenty of people still waiting to get on to talk about this. Talking about New Bedford having a plethora of segregated schools. Now, I'll save it for a little bit later, but one of the things that I want to let you know in reading the story by Colin Hogan from New Bedford Light, he was actually one of my guests yesterday, and I reread it again this morning. The one thing that I can definitely say to you, there is a difference in the definition of segregation back in, let's say, 1954, when the historic Brown versus Board of Education was passed, or when I say passed, it was approved by the U.S. Supreme Court, and the segregation that is being mentioned today. So I want to plant that little seed in your head as we talk about the story. Where is that other? The hysteria over listeria seems to be over. Boar's Head Foods were actually recalled by the Boar's Head Company because of some listeria found in some of their, I don't know if it was chopped liver or one of their packaged foods. Stop and Shop, Big Y, and a few other stores, not only around here, but nationwide, actually closed down their delis yesterday. And they did a massive clean down. I did go over to Stop and Shop, and I went to Market Basket. I wasn't sure if Market Basket actually did Boar's Head, and I was told by someone that they don't. So I'll take his word for it. I just don't remember, because I really don't do deli shopping over at Market Basket. So I don't know. Maybe if there's somebody else who does go to Market Basket and does do deli shopping over there, if you know if they have Boar's Head products, hams, chopped liver, roast beef, turkey, any of that stuff, let me know. 508-996-0500 to let me know about that. And following your tax dollars. And I really think it's important to do this. When our government, let me rephrase that, when our governments use our tax dollars, I would hope that they are using it to improve the life for each and every one of us. That, to me, is the epitome of taxation with representation. If it doesn't benefit all of us, or has the potential of benefiting all of us, and here's a classic example of that. I heard Mayor Mitchell the other day saying that some of the ARPA money is going to be used to repave streets in the city, which a lot of people are complaining about, including yours truly. Now, I may not go down one of those streets, but I have the potential of going down one of those streets that are being repaved. All right, so that falls into that category. And I would say the same thing for the state highway system. One doesn't know for sure if I would ever use the Mass Pike again, or 140, or somebody from Western Massachusetts using 140 or 195. But the potential is there. So I understand using our tax dollars. I do feel like I'm being represented, or I have the utmost opportunity of being represented. Here's where I've got a problem. Maybe you do not, maybe you do. We all have been belly aching, and rightly so, about what's going on with migrants coming into Massachusetts. Call them illegals, call them whatever. I'm using the term migrant to mean all of them. And they could be coming from a different state as well as coming from outside of the country. And why would they come here? Because Massachusetts is the only state in the country that has what's known as a right to shelter law. And so when people outside of the state, outside of the country find out, hey, Massachusetts has this right to shelter law. So once we get there, all we have to do is make our way to Massachusetts, and they've got to put us up. And as you know, we have been in a state of emergency. This is month 12 of that state of emergency because of a housing crisis. Now, we can blame whomever we want for the housing crisis. I do point my finger at Governor Healy for basically opening up the door for illegals as well. I'm just going to say migrants to come in to Massachusetts, because apparently at that time we had a lot of housing. I don't think we did, but what we found out is schools, dormitories, armories, hotels, motels were being used to house folks coming in from wherever. Now we find out that the Healy administration has been using your tax dollars and my tax dollars to go out and hire consultants, which isn't anything new. It sucks that that's what they do. But in this particular case, these consultants are actively, or maybe not too actively, getting millions of dollars to monitor the migrant shelter situation, i.e., how many days should they stay there? You mean to tell me that we don't have some of the best and brightest in state government who can tell us that? We have to farm that kind of work out to some contractor and pay millions of dollars. My understanding, 2 contractors are getting hefty $1 million contracts to basically tell us how long folks can stay in the shelter. And how about this? And when they've overstayed their time in that shelter, where they can go for the next stay, and then where they go for the stay after that. You mean to tell me, instead of putting people up that really could use a shelter, really could use a place to stay, you want to go out and spend millions for people who are already making buco bucks so they can tell you where you can tell the other people where to go? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you where to go.
Is liberty.
I'll tell you one thing you don't have to fear today is the sunshine. It's going to be a great day to be at the beach. And if you do go to the beach today, take the WBSM app with you, because you can listen to Pittman and all of our programming. It's going to sound great at the beach. Better than taking that radio and letting sand get kicked all over it. 508-996-0500. I mentioned during my headlines about today being free laundry day. I said today, it's really tomorrow. It's tomorrow at Dash Laundromat. Now, I believe that, don't quote me on this, but I believe the Dash Laundromat is over in that strip mall across from Shaw's Market. I believe that's where it is. One State Road is the address. And from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow, they are allowing you to do one load of laundry, whether it's a smaller load or a huge load, for absolutely FREE free. And the dryers are free all day. So let's just say you don't have a washer or dryer, or you live in a complex where you've got to feed the machines. Well, you go over to Dash and you have one of these cards. I think you can actually use the app. And you can do your laundry over there, at least one load for free. You know, one load for free is better than no loads for free. But if you don't have too much, well, one load is good. You know, the folks that own and operate Dash, they did something similar last year, a free laundry day. And they were telling the Standard Times, and I also believe they said the same story to WBSM.com, that there was one woman who came in and she was in tears because she had been using, I believe, her bathtub to do her laundry. So, you know, not everybody has a washer and dryer. My son and his girlfriend, the girlfriend actually went out and bought a house in Providence. It's a 3-family. And he's giving me an idea of what the basement of that 3-family is like and what she wants to do with it. And I thought to myself, but I said, you know what? You're going to need to make some money. So go ahead and put some coin-operated machines in there and take the profits left over. You use the coin-operated machines to pay your water and sewer bill. And then what's left over, you save up to fix up the basement so you can do some of those other projects down in the basement that you want to do that will help bring in even some more money. So I say that to you because there are many people that are renters in particular, and even some homeowners, not many, but many renters that have to take their laundry. Some get on a bus, some rent a cab or take an Uber to go to the laundromat. So it's expensive to get to the laundromat. Then you've got to put, maybe you've got a card, but somehow you got to feed some machine to either put money on a card or to get the quarters so you can put them into the machine. What's happening at Dash tomorrow is going to be a godsend for many people. They're not going to have to spend money, not going to have to spend any money for the dryer. So take advantage, 7 to 9 tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And it's my understanding that the folks down the hall from us, Fun 107, will be broadcasting live, so you can dance to your laundry if that's what you want to do. We talked about the migrant situation and your tax dollars. Kind of dovetails right into what I want to bring up next. No, what I want to bring up next is my good friend who's been sitting over there in Studio 6 and 7 8 saying, Brian, when are we going to get to this? Brian, when are we going to get to this? When are we going to get to this? Jim Phillips has our Town Square Sunday update. Good morning, Jim. How are you today?
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jim Phillips, and here's what's happening this week on Town Square Sunday. Professor Ken Manning, chair of the UMass Dartmouth Political Science Department, shares his take on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, Joe Biden's decision to drop his bid for re-election, and the ascension of Kamala Harris as the Democrats' presidential nominee. Closer to home, we'll preview the upcoming Feast of the Blessed Sacrament coming up August 1st through the 4th in New Bedford's North End. And in an encore broadcast, local author Paul Rooney talks about his first book, Widow's Cove, a murder mystery with New Bedford as a backdrop. I'm Jim Phillips. Join us for Town Square Sunday, Sunday morning at 6 and 11 on 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thank you very much, Jim. Let's take a quick look at the Bitcoin Biz Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. Bitcoin up more than $1,400 from last week at this time, coming in at $68,031. Ethereum down $240 at $3,503. Binance Coin at $586. That's actually down $4 from last week at this time. Solana, $184. That's actually up $15 from last week. XRP is even at 59 cents. Dogecoin up a penny, 13 cents. And Toncoin down $1, coming in at $6. And that's your Bitcoin Biz Barometer for today, Saturday, July 27th, 2024. You know where I get these numbers from. CoinMarketCap.com. CoinMarketCap.com. All right, speaking of coin, we talked about coin-operated machines and stuff like that. We also talked about the fact that a lot of your tax dollars, millions of your tax dollars, are being used to go out and hire consultants, people you don't know, but I'm sure there are a few figures in government who know who these folks are. And basically, they're making decisions on how long migrants can stay in shelters or who gets priority to stay here and for how long. Well, according to Mass Inc., they recently did a survey. In fact, that survey was done in June. And what they found out is 21% of us, or 21% of those that were surveyed, can imagine themselves packing up their bags and leaving the Commonwealth within the next 5 years. Now, when I first heard that, I said, well, 5 years is a long time. Who knows if, that's how they feel today, if that's how they're going to feel, maybe when they start a family and they have relatives around who can help with babysitting and stuff. Who knows? 5 years, that does seem like a far piece down the road. What hit home were the reasons that these people surveyed said why they are going to leave. High housing cost. The immigrant crisis. Government spending. Welfare. Well, isn't welfare a part of government spending? But okay, welfare and the cost of living. The cost of living, you know and I know, is astronomical. Who was I talking to? Oh, I know who I was talking to. This person lives in the city of New Bedford. Not going to give out a name. Lives in the city of New Bedford. and is moving. And I commented, oh, you can't afford to stay in New Bedford? This person with a halfway decent job. And I'm thinking to myself, you can't afford to stay in New Bedford? I'm not sure he's leaving the city of New Bedford, but it just ran into my mind because I had been looking at that survey and I said, yeah, another person leaving, even New Bedford. And I say it like that, even New Bedford, because if rents are high in New Bedford, by and large, rents are higher in Fairhaven, Acushnet, Dartmouth, Westport, Mattapoisett, Rochester. You know the communities. 1 in 5 Bay State residents can see themselves leaving the Commonwealth. Hey, what I'm saying this like I'm oblivious. The son that I was telling you about with the girlfriend, and the girlfriend just bought the house in Providence. The son moved to Providence. He moved to Providence last year. It had nothing to do with this house. It did have to do with employment. And he could have commuted from here to there. But he told me, he told his mom, and he told his brother, he told all of us. He moved because he can't find a place to rent that is reasonably priced for him and his dog. 508-996-0500. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, it is a good morning to me.
Yeah, well, I think that, and I've talked to people, I mean, I'm 63, I'm closer to your age, and I've talked to younger people, like my son is surprised that he got a rental in Washington, D.C., and some of his friends, they're all, a lot of them are looking to get out. Sometimes they're looking for jobs, which is the typical thing when you're younger, and you sort of do whatever you got to do to rent, have roommates or whatever. But, as they talk to people that are older, in their 30s, 40s, obviously in my age, closer to retirement, it's just they don't see that the state is going in the right direction, and that at any time, and we saw this recently, that there were these new taxes proposed. They got defeated, but they were proposed. And so one of them was a 2% sales tax that just goes straight to the state if you sell your house. And I call that the FU tax. If you're leaving, they're going to give you the FU. And then there was obviously all these other taxes on, like new excise taxes that
yes.
cities could actually determine. And then we went through a series.
Don't forget if you're going to drive into Massachusetts, tax.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. They almost see, and then they had wasn't a tax, but again, this is along the lines of the thinking, which is that they don't care about the average person. Is that I think it was Mattapoisett, Marion, maybe even Fairhaven, where they were basically saying if you lived within a certain amount of certain distance from the ocean, that you were going to have your septic system redone to, fit the new Green Deal of what septic systems need to look like to prevent stuff from going into the water. And it's like, that's $50,000 a household. So, if you're, especially for the level that they need to do. So that got defeated. But how do these things come up? And like assuming that people have all the money in the world, or the economy is very good, and it just seems that every knock on the door for these taxes and these fees and these costs, and these bad decisions, and a lot of them get turned over, but you're going, but these people are talking about it. The woman that was talking,
they get turned over, but then they end up getting proposed again until you get so tired of fighting it that it finally passes.
Well, who is the woman that during that idea of taxing cars throughout the state for mileage? That was another thing. They were gonna try to somehow, if you were a commuter, or if you were a salesperson, or if you were a delivery person, and you're doing a lot of miles, those people should pay more. But if you had an electric car, you shouldn't pay anything. It's like, well, wait. So if I choose an electric car, I'm free of taxes, but I have to pay $60,000 for the car. But if I'm just trying to make ends meet, I'm going to end up paying a driver's tax for mileage. And I remember Maura Healey's agent there pounding her fist like, "We're doing this. We're making these people pay." And I'm like, "Who are you talking to?"
Wasn't that the same person that wanted to do the tolls?
Yes.
Yeah, at the border.
Yes.
I forgot her. The MassDOT woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was maniacal. And so I think that, like, I'm moving. My house is on the market right now, and I live in Arizona. I'm leaving, and I'm sort of preparing for retirement. It's not like I'm fleeing here because I'm afraid of something, but I think a lot of people are leaving. They're leaving to places that are safer, lower cost, lower taxes,
and warmer.
Yeah. I mean, all those things. It's like, it's worth the adventure and the sort of doing what you got to do, because at some point, my feeling is, I have no facts to it, but that this place is going to get taxed out the way California is at some point. It's just going to continue because, you got a governor that goes to the border to tell everyone we're a sanctuary state when she knows.
And then she tries to stop, stop, don't come here anymore.
The water's flowing up to her
create
neck,
a problem and then try
"Stop."
to solve it.
Exactly. So, when you have that sort of disconnect from the public, by the way, I don't know if you saw the opening of the Olympics.
I did not.
You see okay. So in one of the scenes, there's this opening along the river, the Seine River. So they had this big building, and it had a bunch of Marie Antoinettes in the building. And each Marie Antoinette, remember what happened to her? She had her head cut off. So each one of these maybe 20 women that are holding a head in their arms, and their head, bloody neck is showing. And it's a really bizarre scene. It actually happened. And I kept thinking to myself, like, that was because the revolution in France was about elitism. And it was about the elites that had no connection with the average people. It was like Hunger Games, literally. And then eventually the people rose up and they chopped the head off of Marie Antoinette, and they that was their freedom of July 14th. But that's where we're going. We have this elitism that is such a disconnect. They're getting paid great money. They don't, Marie Jean-Pierre 2 days ago was talking about her job with Biden, and she said, it's a really tough job, and I just don't get paid enough. I looked up how much she gets paid. She gets paid $188,000 a year.
How much?
$188,000 a year.
You got to be kidding me.
I'm not.
That's more than some of the Congress people.
Would I lie to you, dude? I mean,
I think you are telling me the truth, but you got to be kidding me that's what a spokesperson is getting paid in Washington, D.C. This goes to what you were saying. To your point, these folks are out of touch because these taxes, whatever, there's no effect on them. And so, of course we should pay this tax. Of course we need to have a green economy, all those kind of things. Hey, man, thanks for the call. I do appreciate it. Free laundry day tomorrow.
Okay. Every day.
You too. 508-996-0500 to get onto the program today. 1 in 5 Massachusetts residents. Now, this is according to Mass Inc. They have a polling group. They did the survey last month. 1 in 5 Bay State residents say they can see themselves moving out of state within the next 5 years. You just heard from a caller. He said he's ready to go. He's ready to go. My son already went. One of my sons. The other one is still here. Anybody else thinking that maybe they can't afford to stay in the greater New Bedford area? How about this? Not even greater New Bedford. You can't afford to stay in the Commonwealth anymore. Yep. If it's happening as we speak. The revolution, that is. It's a beautiful day. What a beautiful day for a revolution. I wonder if the Beatles would be singing that song on this particular date. Acushnet is 69 degrees. Swansea 67, New Bedford 68. And thankfully, you've got the WBSM.com logged into your web browser so you can listen to us that way. Next hour, Ross Grace Jr. He's a member of the New Bedford School Committee. We're going to be talking about a recent article in New Bedford Light titled Segregation in New Bedford. Basically talking about segregation in New Bedford schools. We'll get into that in after the news, after ABC tells us what they want us to know. But to reiterate, according to Mass Inc., a survey that they did last month, 21% of Bay Staters say they can imagine themselves moving away. We just heard from a caller who said that, he's had it. He's in his early to mid 60s. He doesn't want to put up with it anymore. I bet there are a lot of other people, not necessarily in his shoes, but feeling the same way. And what about the young folks? I was thinking about this. There are lots of things that older, more mature adults understand. Government is doing X, government is doing Y, government is doing Z. But kids don't necessarily relate to that. They see prices are going up, but they don't have that correlation that it's government making those prices going up. It takes a while for that to sink in, usually around your mid-30s and later. So as today's youth, and, I mentioned the son that moved to Providence. Well, one of his better friends moved to Providence before him and I think bought a house in Providence. And a lot of people his age have left not only the Commonwealth, but those that stayed in Massachusetts didn't stay around here. So what's that telling you? And when you look at our area of eastern Massachusetts, it is the least expensive part of the Commonwealth. North Shore, Cape Ann, much more expensive than it is down here. South Shore, Duxbury, Marshfield, Plymouth, much more expensive. Cape Cod, more expensive. Now, when you get on the other side of Worcester, the prices are comparable. And when you get out by Springfield and west of Springfield, Westfield, Pittsfield, North Adams, around here, it's more expensive. But what are you getting out? You're getting beautiful land out in western Massachusetts, but a lot of the so-called amenities, they're not there. So people are leaving the state. By the way, they're leaving New York State. They're leaving California. Elon Musk, he's taken all of his companies out of California and I think moving them all to Texas. Pretty soon.